Hello, and welcome to Copy That, the new series from Quadcast that's all about copywriting. I'm your host, Lewis, and today I'm joined by Eddie Hall to talk all things copy. Eddie, thanks so much for being here. It's great to have you on.
Thank you. It's nice to be on here. My first podcast, but I'm looking forward to it.
This is great. I can't believe that we're your first. You never forget your first time.
No, never. No, I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait to discuss everything.
So I just want to get started by asking you what I ask everybody first time. How did you get into copywriting?
So I got into copywriting. I was at university and I was working part-time in retail, and I realized that I was quite good at writing, always throw out my essays and stuff like that. And I thought I could practice it and then learn how to use that, but get paid for doing it. So it was a nice little top up of income while I was at university, paid for going out and all of that kind of stuff.
Perfect. Where did you go to university?
I went to university in Bath at Bath Spa.
Nice. That was one of my choices, but I went to Gloucestershire.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's a nice area. So yeah, nice place to go to university.
Yeah, it's lovely. I love Bath. So I wanted to just kind of jump off of that. So when you finished studying, finished studying at university, and how then did you kind of pivot that into a career of copywriting?
My process, it was all quite rapid, actually. I mean, obviously now you graduate with a degree and it's quite difficult in this economy to find a job. I was actually in my first in-house copywriting job within about a week of finishing my degree.
Wow.
So no time off. It was quite quick, straight into it. And a travel business was starting up a new venture and they needed a junior writer. So I sort of went straight into that.
Oh, that's amazing. Were they kind of impressed with the amount of sort of freelance experience you'd had while you
Yes,
were doing your degree?
I think that was what perhaps put me, ahead of other writers,
Yeah.
was sort of that freelance experience that I had beforehand. So it definitely helps going in there, explaining that you understand the process, rather than obviously a company having to teach you the entire thing from scratch.
Definitely. I mean, that's kind of practically unheard of nowadays. It's just being able to walk straight into something that you. So,
Yeah.
what did you study? Was it sort of copywriting adjacent?
No, it had nothing to do with it. Although it was writing heavy, it was criminology,
Right.
actually. Yeah. And in the end, towards the end of that, I think while working as a copywriter on the side, I realized that was my passion. I realized I really enjoyed that and I wanted to see what it was like in-house.
It's really interesting comparing the degrees that people did coming into this career, because my degree was humanities, which is obviously very writing heavy, and then
Yeah.
the sciences also tend to be very writing heavy as well. So it's interesting just to see this like emergence of everybody coming together, like, oh, here's all of my backgrounds, and here's all of these people with lots of different experience and lots of different expertise in different areas. So I'm just then wondering, did you specialize now in a particular niche or industry?
It is actually just now that I'm starting to niche down, and I'm trying to, and I think it's very important to do so. I think especially, you don't want to be a jack of all trades, sort of. I think companies are now looking for expertise, especially with the SEO updates and AI
Yeah.
and everything flooding the internet. You need a lot of expertise to stand out, and I think, it's time for me to. I've sort of been playing the field with everything as a freelancer. And I think now it's time for me to niche down so that I can sort of establish a career and a path in that specific field.
It's interesting that you just mentioned being a freelancer. So I do take it that you work freelance rather than in-house.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do now. I do. I work freelance full time.
Brilliant.
That was due to the company I was working for, unfortunately, have let go half of the staff, mainly junior workers. And I didn't want to let that stop me. I love copywriting. I think, the first couple of weeks, it's really sort of demeaning. Although it's not performance associated, you can easily let that get you down. But I think, if it's your passion, you should keep going. You shouldn't let something like that stop you. So I immediately went online and sent out cold emails. And then I was able to land myself 2 clients within
Wow.
2 months. And now I have 3 and I work full time. If anything, a bit more than full time actually now.
That's fantastic. Was
Yeah.
there anybody when you decided to go freelance? Was there anybody that was discouraging you from doing so, or was it there just like a stream of support?
I think it was that sort of mental load once you've been made redundant, sort of questioning yourself, and your skills. But I think, yeah, there was nobody in particular. Nobody said anything. was told, I've been giving glowing references from the company. I was told that it wasn't, performance associated, but I think for the first few weeks, it's difficult to get your head around. It's quite, I don't know if you've ever been through redundancy before, but it is mentally challenging and it's tough, but I just decided to overcome it because I do love copywriting and I didn't want to let that, I didn't want to turn to something else simply because I was made redundant. So I stuck with it and I'm still doing it now.
Amazing. Yeah, I've never been through a redundancy myself. I mean, the closest that I came was during COVID. I worked at Cineworld and we were all made redundant, but then all brought straight back on within 24 hours when the schemes were announced and all sorts of things. So yeah, it's not really comparable, but it's an experience that I had. That's somewhat adjacent. So obviously you mentioned that being freelance and having 3 clients now and working a little bit over full time. I'm wondering, how do you manage deadlines and how do you manage workload if you're working over full time? Because I imagine being freelance, it can be really hard to sort of police the hours that you work. So, you wake up and just go, oh, I've just got this to do. Let me do this straight away, or finding yourself working late into the evening. How do you sort of manage that?
I think it's important to, at the start of the month, sort of spend time, although unfortunately, of course, this is unpaid. You do have to spend some unpaid hours, working, sort of organizing, because they don't pay you for that, of course. Sitting down at the start of the month with a calendar, using something like Notion and essentially just sitting down for the month, planning everything ahead, sort of understanding the deadlines, working towards those. You're setting hard deadlines for yourself that you can't compromise on. Of course, though, work does pop up and changes naturally in writing, people sending stuff back, or unfortunately, sometimes a change for the angle of the project halfway. But I think if you prepare yourself enough at the start of the month, you can prepare for those changes or anything drastic, or perhaps, sick days you might need to take.
Yeah.
It might set you back a bit. Again, that's unpaid. But I think if you prepare yourself well enough at the start of the month, then you should be able to handle anything that freelance world throws at you.
So we're an agency here, so I suppose there's a similarity there where it's plan and prepare for every sort of eventuality. And,
yes.
It's just making sure like, right, okay, I need to get on top of myself with this, because say if it's your birthday and you're planning to have a week off for that, it's like, oh God, I need to get like 2 weeks ahead of myself.
Yeah.
And that can be really daunting, but it's also then a fun little challenge. And you mentioned Notion being a tool that you use to help you plan at the beginning of the month. So I'm just wondering, what are some other tools or software that you use daily to really help you?
I think so. I don't use too much software, of course, except from stuff I need essentially for work. Notion is something that I use to plan the sort of calendar for the month. Of course, there are, pieces of software like Slack that you need to use to keep in contact with the teams. But then personally, myself, another one, of course, is Grammarly. Although I don't think you can rely too heavily on that, because at the end of the day, as a software, it does strip back a lot of what you write. And of course, it may change your client's tone of voice, and it does end up all sounding the same if you sort of let it tear it apart and get rid of all of the nuances in your writing. It sort of strips what makes your writing human and just turns into a very grammatically clean piece of work.
Yeah, I don't know whether you found this, but so I used to kind of have this, not quite obsession, but I would really like, if I'd finished a piece of work, to run it through an AI content checker, just to see what this tool really thought about what I'd written. And a wholly original piece of work, it was coming back at something like 90% AI generated copy, which it wasn't. And I'd found that the times where it had like a higher percentage was when I'd use Grammarly to really like police myself. So have you found anything like that? Do you use AI content checkers, or what's your view on that?
There is so AI, in terms of my writing process, AI doesn't write anything for my works. So I can always confidently, say AI hasn't ever gone anywhere near it. However, for the agency, they're helping an insurance firm get their website up and running, and they require you to put it through a tool. I think it's called Zero GPT.
Yeah.
And I'd sit there and smash the whole thing, out after research and after several drafts, and then I put it through the thing as a requirement because they want it to come under a certain percentage, and stuff just flags up. But AI's gone nowhere near it, and that can be quite frustrating. But I think that also points to the fact that you can't really rely on these tools to detect whether something has been written by AI or not.
The times where I found that it really flags something up is when it's more of a generic piece of work. And I find that sometimes it can be hard to really maintain a client's tone of voice throughout your own writing, because we're not there on the daily basis to be able to know, like, okay, this is how their team talks. Have you found at times you write something and you go, actually, no, I'm happy with this, but it's almost maybe too generic because I'm worried that they're not going to like it?
Yes, and I think that is, yes. I think as well with like insurance, of course, there's a lot of, nuanced sort of terminology and stuff like that throughout the writing. And I think that can happen. I think there are, of course, like claims and statements that need to be made. And I think that comes back as such. But otherwise, I think the other brands I write for, they do have quite a unique tone of voice. So otherwise, the other stuff doesn't flag up as AI, and I don't generally have that problem. But that's my first client where I have experienced that issue.
That's fantastic. It's just nice to hear people's differing opinions, because the more that I've thought about these AI content checkers lately, the less I'm never going to be inclined to use one again, because these experiences have just put me off it to go, actually, I don't want to police myself to such an extent where I'm too worried about my work reading like AI generated content that it ends up reading like AI generated content.
True. Yes. Yeah.
And that's just a big concern of mine. But I'm wondering, how often will you edit or rewrite a piece of work before you're happy with it? Because I know for me, I think I can be overly pedantic with things, and that's something I'm working on. But it's it's something that I do quite often, because I find that my first draft, while it can be fine, it's like the elements are all there, but it's not quite, the puzzle hasn't quite been put together yet. So I'm just wondering, how do you deal with that?
I try and I sort of limit myself if I can to like 3-4 edits max. Because like you said, I think, as a writer, and you're aware that it is, going into somebody's inbox or it's going on somebody's website, I think, of course, you're very precious over the words that are on there and whether you've executed the plan properly. And I think you can go over it too many times where you strip away the original ideas after your research that was once there and lose a lot of what made that project strong to start with and the way you executed it. I think if you go over it too many times, it can certainly, strip away everything unique that you've applied to it.
I always like to make sure that there's a little piece of me and my voice in what I'm writing, because you feel proud of what you do. It's, you wouldn't do it if you didn't. And so it's just interesting to then hear everybody's, how frequently people like to edit, how people frequently like to rewrite, and it's different for everyone. And it can be hard to make sure that you're rewriting to a point where you're so happy with something that you're ready to let it out into the world. But I'm just wondering, has there been a particular project that you look back on and go, wow, actually, I'm really proud of that. Like, that went really well?
Yes, there is actually. There is one, and it led to an outcome. Actually, it was when I was working in house. So they were organising golf trips. That was what this company was I was working in house for. And the website was it was new, so we were setting up a lot of the pages and destination pages. And I put together a piece that I took a while on researching, because of course they don't have the funding to send you out to these, on these magnificent holidays and these big golf trips on these, 5-star resorts, as much as it would be nice to go on those. But and after doing all of the research and putting stuff together, I think it was for Tenerife, a page for Tenerife. And a client that made a previous inquiry on another place had then read the Tenerife page and called up and asked if he could change his inquiry because of that page. And I just felt very accomplished by that. I just obviously influenced someone so much to go to a holiday destination and over something that they'd already decided on. So I think that was big for me, because it realized that was sort of a direct impact. Because sometimes blogs can unfortunately go into the noise and the metrics are slightly harder to track. Whereas with a landing page like that, for it to have a direct influence and change somebody's purchasing decision it felt like such a big win. And it was the first sort of big time where I discovered that I'd really influenced somebody to make a purchase and change their purchasing decision.
Yeah, I mean, it's such amazing influence to be able to have, to go, wow, you know, like my work has inspired somebody to
Absolutely.
do this. So we touched briefly on some AI content checkers and some AI generated content. And obviously a huge conversation globally, not just within our community and in our career and profession, is AI tools and how they're being used. But I'm specifically wondering what your take is on AI tools within copywriting.
Well, now after the infamous ChatGPT update, 5, isn't it? Version 5, yeah. I'm still seeing the same cracks. I think to the average person, or perhaps a business owner or founder at a startup who values speed, doesn't necessarily understand the power and value of writing, like we were just saying with your film review. It is that to a lot of people, it's a fast turnover, and it's, you know, they see it as a sort of, you know, low investment but a high return. But I think as a writer, if you still look for it now, no matter how strong of a prompt you give it, it just lacks so much sort of passion and experience and influence, and it still just appears as robotic, even with things like, you know, sentence length, you know, variations, and sort of, and it loves specific formulas of writing. And you go on now and you sort of, as a copywriter, you know, you sort of go on websites in your personal time, you sort of start to think like a copywriter, and you sort of start to read it as such, and you just see these same patterns and same formulas, and every website sounds the same. And I think for a long time it isn't going to invade the space in the way that a lot of people have scared that it may. I think there's a lot of fear mongering involved around it, and I think good copywriters will be okay.
Yes.
And I think as long as you use it to your advantage, to help the amount of time it saves me researching is incredible. However, I must say, you do still need to check over, because sometimes it just makes stuff up. I think the founder of OpenAI did say that, confirmed that if it can't pull something or isn't sure, it just makes it up.
Yeah.
And obviously, so it's good to pull stuff in, but you've got to cross-reference it. But I think, yeah, if you're passionate about copywriting and you try every day to work harder and you take pride in every piece, as we were saying before, I think it's still going to be quite a long time before, you know, ChatGPT takes our jobs or something like that, because you see people now that rely on copy, and the stats prove that their like conversions are low, the engagement with it is lower, and the website does just appear robotic. It's just kind of soulless. And the whole point of a business, in my opinion, is the person pours their passion into it, and that's what makes it, you know, that's what makes it individualistic. And I think at the moment, AI tools removes that from your website.
I think it's interesting that you say, just talking about the generic pieces of work that they tend to be. You can go onto a website, and us as copywriters, we're able to pick out these oddly specific details that we know, like, a real writer didn't do this. And it's always in things like the punctuation. It's in things like the beginning of sentences. So my favorite example of any AI generated sentence is "in the world of," "in the landscape of," "in the of."
The fast paced digital world. It loves that one too, doesn't it?
It loves it. Yeah. And it loves those sentences. It loves overly flowery, overly fluffy language that nobody would ever say. It's got an unimaginable confirmation bias, and it loves a dash. It loves a dash.
It also loves. Have you noticed how everybody on LinkedIn and emails is now using an Oxford comma?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Loves that.
All of a sudden, everybody knows how, or likes to use an Oxford comma.
Yeah. All of a sudden, everybody is an expert in punctuation. It's like, no, you're not. I know you're not. It's like, because like my partner, he's a big fan of it because he's not a copywriter. He works in law, and he only uses it in his free time for research for university assignments. And I can tell when he sent me a text generated with
Oh
ChatGPT, because I'm
no.
just like, you didn't write this, because
Yeah.
this is not how you text. And like, it's just, I think some people, I don't know whether it's a copywriter specific thing and a marketing specific thing to be able to point out something and go, you didn't do this because I know what this is supposed to read like. And whether, the community at large and the world at large don't understand what the difference is because they haven't got the same kind of understanding of language and of grammar and of words. It's, I don't know. There's a demoralizing aspect of it because I think, oh my God, are people using it so much so because they don't understand what we do and what we really bring to the table here?
Yeah.
Okay, so another example is one of my best friends. I've known her for 25 years. She works at a business. I won't say which business, but she's the only copywriter within her team, and it's within the marketing team. Everybody's got their one role, but it's just her in this like internationally known business.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible to see that actually like the value isn't there and the value of her job isn't understood, and her workload, she's shown me, it is insane. And obviously, being freelance, I know that obviously you can have so much then on your plate. And I can imagine at times there must be an element of, I wonder if writing this through ChatGPT, giving it a quick scan would make it easier. But then there's also that ethical standpoint of the client has paid for a human written piece of work. I cannot do this. And that's how I land every time.
I think I agree, and I think now you see agencies. There are some agencies out there at the moment that are just leaning on AI for all of their content. And my belief with that is, I thought that the idea of when you invest in an agency and you're paying these big retainer fees, is the idea that I am investing in a group of experienced creatives who are going to take my business to the next level. And of course, if you're not getting that if they're just leaning on AI completely.
As I say, it's that like demoralizing aspect of it because we know what we bring to the table, and everybody else should as well. So I'm wondering, is there anything that you wish more people understood about what copywriters really do?
I think AI is partly to blame with this. I think that what they don't understand is, obviously there are projects, deadlines you need to meet, but good writing does take time. Not a lot of time, but it's not something that you can just, a landing page can't be finished in an hour, put on the website, done.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work like that. It doesn't. There's so much research that goes into it, and psychology, and understanding the customer journey, and understanding the product that you're trying to push, or the act, like trying to get them signed up to a newsletter, whatever it is. There's so much understanding before you even start writing. And I think a lot of people tend to see copywriters as just a sort of, a typewriter just smashing stuff out and putting it online quickly. It's sort of it's a tick box rather than the essential channel in marketing. There are, of course, people that, invest heavily in it. And I think those businesses are the ones that are really successful when all of the sort of creative channels come together. I think if writing's neglected and it's used as a tick box, sort of time managed and micromanaged, then that's where it all starts to go wrong. I think it is neglected, and I think people see it as a speedy process, something that should just be there, checked off, done. That's that. Now we move on to the next thing.
You can't really just move on to the next thing, because each thing is like a laborious piece of thing. It's a living thing once it's out in the world, and things are going to constantly want editing, rewriting if something's not working, if something hasn't landed in the way. Say you've written a piece that's really SEO optimized and you're like, yes, this is going to do really well, and it ends up not doing well. You need to keep going back to it and making sure that you're happy with it until it's where you want it to be. And so I'm just wondering, off of the back of that, how do you see copywriting evolving over the next few years? This is kind of within the AI conversation. I feel like, as you say, the good copywriters will survive. And do you see this element of people having to adopt it more so than they already are to be able to really thrive in the industry, to kind of, whether it's their workload, whether it's to boost productivity, whether it's, clients might start requesting that you use it, who knows? Where do you sort of see everything going?
I think it's such a loaded question, and it's so difficult to predict, and it's growing at such a rapid rate already, and in popularity, the amount of people that use it day to day, whether that's just searching for the nearest cafe near you that's open past 6 p.m. or something like that. I think search behavior is changing, and I think what it is I don't think it's going to steal our jobs, but I do think that you need to lean on it and use it. I think befriend it rather than see it as an enemy.
Yeah.
Use it alongside you and take advantage of it and learn certain skills. It isn't going to it's not going to do your job, but it is going to make it easier. I think it is going to make it easier because I think it just, at the moment, as it stands, it can't replicate the creativity that humans have. And I think that's what makes us so special when we write, is the creativity that goes towards all of the writing. But like we said previously, there's a lot of research that goes into the writing. And I think if you lean on AI to help you with the research, then it will be okay. But in terms of the next 20, 30 years, I mean, who knows what could happen?
Yeah, who knows? By the time that we sort of start to reach middle age, and who knows where we'll be. It's complicated. It's a really complex subject because it's that fear of the unknown. We don't know where these tools are going to take us and who the adopters of it will be and how copywriters will kind of take the brunt of that, which is hard. It's something troubling for me, is kind of questioning like, oh my, are these sort of bigger companies to sort of help with their expenditure? Are they going to go, right, let's just churn it out, ChatGPT-esque blogs and blog articles? There was something that I saw not long ago from a really well-known film production site that I like to read. And it was a completely ChatGPT written piece of work. Yeah. And you could tell because it was, all of the headings, nothing was in sentence case. And there was like a subheading, a couple of sentences, then a bullet point list, then a couple of sentences, and then on to the next section. And the more that you read that and the more that you read all of these formulaic things, even people that don't have sort of a grasp of these tools are going to start to pick up on, oh, actually, this doesn't feel right. So do you think that there could be an element within the next 20 to 30 years that maybe audience taste is going to change and they'll go, actually, I reject this. I reject sort of AI-generated content?
I think so. I think if you truly love the arts, whether that's music, you enjoy writing, you enjoy reading, or you enjoy art itself, I think people are going to reject it. It doesn't have the story behind each sort of thing, if you see what I'm saying. Each sort of piece has its own story behind it, and an individual that's worked on it with specific talents that has sort of crafted that and come together. I think obviously AI, what's happened is, somebody's put together a prompt to write a film script or something like that. There's not the talent and the emotion and the hard work that goes behind it. And I think that's what makes a lot of that unique and impressive. I think once you remove that, I think people are going to reject it.
There's examples. I mean, there's a film out, The Bad Guys 2, that's out at the minute. And during the end credits crawl, one of the very last lines of it says, "We do not give you permission to use this film to train your AI models."
Yeah, that's a big problem at the moment, isn't it?
And that's going to be a huge thing. Is there are, that's a huge studio. It's coming from Universal, which has been around for over 100 years now, and for a conglomerate like that, for that to start to reject it, that seems like a pretty big step forward in like, actually, no, we're going to reject this usage in art. And it might just be one example from one film, and it could have been a director-specific thing. It could have been a studio head-specific thing. Who knows? But it does feel like a step forward in the way of, no, I'm not giving you permission to do this. I don't accept this. I completely reject this idea.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, and I think hopefully people at that level will start to reject it, because I think it's ultimately in their hands, and I think as long as they reject it and everybody follows, then I think there will be an uprise against AI in the arts and sort of creating our entertainment and things we enjoy in our free time and things that inspire us.
Yeah, AI can be used as a tool to make certain tasks easier, but I don't need it in my entertainment.
No, absolutely not. Don't want it anywhere near it.
Yeah, I don't want it anywhere near it. Keep it away from it. So we're going to move away from the AI conversation now, because I feel like we could sit and talk for hours and hours and hours about
Yeah.
this. And we simply don't have the time in the day to do so. So I just want to move back to your work. And I just want to know, with the amount of clients that you have and trying to juggle their expectations and trying to make sure that you're writing within their tone of voice and stick to the briefs that they've given you, I'm wondering how you balance your own creative freedom with their client briefs.
I think it's important to just, I take my time with it if I have the time. It's very rare that there's a quick turnaround. And I think as long as you allow your sort of individualism, as you were saying earlier with your writing, it's nice to just have a piece of your individualism in there.
Yeah.
And I think when you sort of flow in a way that suits you and you use a work system that suits you. For example, I quite like to set an hour timer after doing all the research and just write for an hour straight, and then stop and then go away for about 5 minutes, just stand away from the desk, stand away from the screens, just go outside and then come back to it again. And I think that's a good way of sort of allowing the creativity to flow out of you for a set amount of time while also following the briefs. But I think it's important for your creativity to obviously not overtake their sort of brief, but to sort of work alongside it.
That's a really interesting idea, actually. Do the research, set yourself a time, see what you can do within this time bracket, step away from it. I've never done that. And I'm stealing that idea, because that is a genuinely brilliant idea.
It's excellent.
I've never thought of it. So within that hour, will you try and sit there and go, I'm going to do all of it, or just as much as I can, or whatever happens, happens?
It's very much a whatever happens thing, because I think otherwise if you set a sort of expectation with a word count or something like that, then it will remove the creativity, because in the back of your head you're just thinking 2,000 words, or you're something along those lines, that you need to hit it. So it's not a case of hitting a certain goal. I think it's just letting the creativity flow out of you for that one specific hour, then stop for 5 minutes, go away, essentially do nothing, just walk outside for 5 minutes, something like that, and then go back to your desk again. And I then usually just set another hour timer and just go straight to it again.
That's a fantastic idea. For me, I'm a planner. I will plan a piece of work up to the point where I go, oh my God, now I actually have to write it. But by that point, I'm so frazzled by it, but I just get started anyway. So I'm going to steal that, and I'm going to go and have a little walk. I'm going to go and stand outside for 5 minutes, calm down, and come back in with a fresh mind, because I feel like that is almost like a really great way to sort of avoid burnout with something as well, because immediately, if you've planned it and you've researched it, it's all fresh of mind. But at a certain point, the words just aren't going to come out.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why you just need to step back for a second. Just take a minute, just walk outside. You might see something that just triggers something else in your mind, which you can then go and apply when you go back to it. And again, that's what makes a human writer better than these sort of chatbots and AI. I think, you just need to let the creativity just flow out of you. Once you've done the research, you just need to let the creativity just flow out of you, set yourself an hour, and then just keep going back to it and just repeat that until you're happy with it. And then, of course, come back to it, depending on how much time you have. I usually like to leave a day or two between work for when I go back to do, hard edits, because then I usually come back and go, what the hell was that, and sort of change it and just, and I think, especially sort of when you're starting to work later towards the day, that's when the creativity sort of starts to go, and you're most productive at the start of the morning. So I think sometimes the quality sort of starts to deteriorate slightly towards the end. So then when you come back at it like a day later, you spot those mistakes and you're then able to sort of maintain the quality throughout.
Definitely. See, I much prefer, and I'm just wondering if you like to do this as well. So I I tend to like plan and write in the morning, and really, if I've got like a really chunky piece of work, I do that first thing just so it's kind of done and out of the way, and
Yeah.
we can move forward. And then in the afternoon, when I'm sort of flagging, I'll like sit and edit podcasts. I'll do social content. I'll do the things that are less meaty. Do you work in a similar sort of way?
Absolutely. The creative, daunting task, that task you've been putting off, do it first thing in the morning. Just tackle it.
Yeah, just get it
Second, sit
done.
down. No messing around. I got through a habit for a while where I was, checking newsletters at the start of the morning and sort of, a slow start. I think it's important to just tackle that big creative task that your client is asking for and is expecting the most out of. I think tackle it first thing in the morning. I think everything, all the creativity is flowing then. It's important. And then it's pretty similar to what I do. Then afterwards, I do those sort of lower maintenance tasks in the afternoon.
I feel like the lower maintenance tasks, because there can tend to be so many of them, it then breaks the afternoon up in a lot quicker way. And
Absolutely.
It's just by the time that you're like, okay, right, I'm ready to go home now.
Yeah.
I'm ready to turn my laptop off now. It's nearly then like time to do so. I want to move away completely from the work side of things for this next question. Based on anything throughout your life, is there a writer that you can read or really picture or think of that you really look back on and go, yeah, I really admire this writer, and this is one of the influences as to possibly why I went into writing in the first place, or this person's work really inspired this piece of content, or this thing that I did in my free time? Is there a writer like that for you?
Yes, I think outside of copywriting specifically, that is Jack Kerouac.
Right.
I don't know if you've read any books by Jack Kerouac.
I know the name, but I couldn't name any books.
On the Road was the first book I sat down and read properly.
Right.
And it's just free prose. It was post World War II, so it was rebellious against, cultural norms and embracing sort of freedom and, going against sort of the pre-World War II standard ways of life and breaking the norms. And it was just completely about freedom, and that is heavily reflected in the writing style.
Yeah.
It's very free. It's very language heavy. The way he describes certain settings are just incredible. He's just very powerful with his words. But what I admire so much now, especially with AI, as we were talking with the clean, grammar and those specific sentence flows, I've not read a single book of anybody that sort of writes in that style. It's very, very unique. And
Yes.
I've never found a book that captivated me in the same way. And the way he just describes certain situations and life experiences is magical. And I think that book would inspire a lot of people to write, because it's just sort of that, it sort of gets rid of the shackles sort of that, the AI has, and it sort of embraces the freedom and the individualism in writing. So I think that has inspired me a lot. Otherwise, as a copywriter, Eddie Schindler is fantastic. He is from Chicago, I think, yeah, and he is he's a SaaS copywriter,
Right.
and he runs a newsletter, and I think he is fantastic at sort of telling stories in his writing, which is the exact kind of thing that will set people apart from AI writing. And I think that newsletter is something that everybody should subscribe to if they want to sort of stay ahead, if they're worried about their job being taken, because he sort of strips back copywriting and shows that it's everything that makes us human and how we write that sets us apart from AI at the moment. And he's touched upon that a lot.
That's fantastic. Those are some amazing recommendations. I'll make sure to link those in the show notes. That's really cool. Thank you.
No problem.
So I just wanted to jump on the novelist that you mentioned. So a book that I read. So I read it yearly now. So I read The Exorcist sort of around every Halloween. So I'll probably start it in the next couple of weeks, because it takes me a while to get through it, because as much as I love the film The Exorcist, the book genuinely terrifies me. And so I'll read a chapter and then I have to put it down, and then I'll come back to it at a later date. But it's The Exorcist. It's like, I love prose that is so emotive and is so incredibly expressive and has an almost unedited feel to it that's like, it's like, a publisher read this and said, this is perfect as it is, no notes. And that to me is great writing. I love that. So that would be my recommendation. If anybody's never read The Exorcist, read The Exorcist. If anyone's never read On the Road, was it called?
Yes, On the Road, yeah.
On the Road, and go and read On the Road.
It's exactly that. The story behind that is quite cool, and actually it's so unfiltered, and you can buy the sort of unedited version. He wrote out the entire book within sort of like a day.
Oh, wow.
He didn't stop and wrote it out on a really long scroll. And that was it. And you can buy that version, or you can buy the slightly edited version, which is still free prose. But of course, the one that was written on a scroll, you can buy that version, and that's just free prose, and it's fantastic.
Oh, amazing. I'll go and seek out the original, because that seems like a really interesting thing to go and seek out.
Yeah. I think it was a really it's part of the sort of beat generation and beat poetry. That's what that sort of era is called. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks for that recommendation.
No problem. Hope you enjoy it.
So moving on to another recommendation. So I like to ask everybody this as we're coming to the end of the podcast. So I listen to a lot of film scores as I write. I listen to a lot of ambient music, sort of shoegaze, drone, just because it just like helps me clear my head and get on with a task. And so I'm wondering, do you have any recommendations for things to listen to while you write? And it could be absolutely anything at all. So I just want to know, what should we be listening to?
It varies. I listen to a lot of music. I enjoy a lot of different kinds of music. So it sort of varies. But again, what I find actually, and I picked this up from Jack Kerouac. He used to listen to bebop jazz when he was writing, which is it's very if you give it a listen, you've not heard it before, it's sort of it's similar to his style of writing, and it inspired his work. And it is just sort of, it's fast tempo, slightly improvised jazz. And I think when you put that on, it embraces this sort of chaos and creativity of sort of writing as a human. So I like to put that on in the background if I'm not too stressed. And sort of during that hour that I was on about, where I set the timer, I sort of let that play, just a big playlist. And it sort of carries along the writing very well. And it sort of helps with the chaos and the sort of creativity. But otherwise, if you're not looking for something like that, then honestly, listen to anything without lyrics usually does quite well, because it won't distract you too much. Any sort of instrumental music is always quite nice in the background. But really, I guess just put on whatever inspires you, whatever music really inspires you. Put that on and just let all of the words pour out.
That's amazing. Just off of the back of the jazz, I have a recommendation for that, because I feel like I'm very slowly turning this into a film podcast. It's meant to be about copywriters, and very quickly I'm just going to be like, oh, have you seen this? A film score I love is from the film Whiplash, which has a very sort of chaotic, frenetic. It's more. It's not jazz throughout, but there is a kind of jazz feel to it, and the La La Land score as well. So those are two that I would recommend off of the back of that, and I will leave the film talk for the day. So we're just moving on to the last question. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been really great to have you on. I'm so appreciative that we're your first podcast. That feels like a huge honor for me.
Thank you. It's been brilliant. I really enjoyed it. I was a bit daunted before I came on, but no, been a great host.
But brilliant. Thank you. I appreciate that. I like feedback on my hosting skills, because I'm new to this. So I'm still learning.
I honestly couldn't tell.
But thank you. I really appreciate that. So Eddie, I just wanted to, last question, where can people find you and your work online?
So I don't actually have a website right now, which is ridiculous. And I need to start putting money aside and get a nice website up and running, because I do want to focus on this at the moment. It's working out very nicely for me. I like the clients I work for. I enjoy the sort of freelance scape, and also the sort of free time that it offers you. So I do need to set up a website. So otherwise, I guess you can find me on LinkedIn, Eddie Hall. And otherwise, my work, I don't have any individual work posted, but all of my work is on sort of several different agencies and their websites and all of their clients' pages.
Perfect. Well, thanks. I'll make sure to link your LinkedIn below. If anybody wants to
Thank
go
you very
and
much.
seek out Eddie, please
Yeah.
do so. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been really amazing. And yeah, that's great. I have nothing else to add. So I'm still testing this ending. I don't know if I like it yet. Once these have started to be published, I think I might realize like, oh God, I hate the way that I sound when I say it. So I'm just going to end by going, did you copy that?